Deep in medieval times, the world lived in fear of women eating children, and grass refused to shut up. It was also at least 12 years before the rise of the internet and screams of terror could be isolated to the hut you were doing the bad stuff in. This must be Kingdom Come Deliverance II. Forged in the fires of impulsive wobble hands and naughty ambitions, it's me, your hero, on a horse that may have several men inside. You never can tell. I gallop with my gaggle of wannabe robot men. We're so shiny and the day is so nice, the sun has already used us to take the lives of 16 rabbits, a toad, and the eye of an innocent boy. The leader of our crew, Sir Hans, laughs with me because I'm likable and wouldn't hurt a fly. We have the very special quest of delivering a very special message to Von What's-His-Face in a castle or something. It will go well, as long as we don't make any stupid decisions. Sir Hans speedruns the desire to see us murdered and thrown into cages with nibbly seashells, and demands we set up camp next to a big, beautiful lake, on a wide open road, in a countryside riddled with bandits and possibly dinosaurs. I, like others in our group, express how stupid of an idea this is. We do it anyway because he's rich, important, and he knows best. This is why he will have a shiny hat one day. He may be woefully unequipped to lead and have the brains of a roadkill, but damn it, he was born. At least I have a dog, and dogs are pretty neat. We play with swords and dance in a manly way before taking our clothes off and looking for turtles in the water. Sir Hans hears the sound of womanly giggles and his terror penis does a wee splash. He insists we follow the sound towards its origin, but this isn't enough to give us a reason to sneak around in the bushes with our chest hairs out and creeping on girls. Nowadays, most people frown on this sort of behavior, but Sir Hans couldn't find sorrow or self-reflection if he tongued up a mirror. During the 15th century, people were generally happier than they are today. This is because we were closer to our time of being sloppy in the ocean and doing poo bubbles and fish burps. This knowledge only furthers my desire to send humanity back underwater before those f***ing octopuses discover balloons and ruin it for everyone. The innocent voyeuristic perversion was interrupted by the sounds of agony, steel and screams. Our robot boy band was getting brutally butchered by a group of evil. How did they find us? We were so hidden, this will truly be a mystery to us all. A vampire man with a metal head bites into a woman, which triggers my heroic nature.
Hey! What the f*** are you doing?
I was just one big stupid face. We could have been safe in the bushes doing a perv on some women and violence, but no. Now myself and Sir Hans find ourselves swimming to the other side of the lake, unsuccessfully dodging arrows and flapping about in the water like a baby in a bathtub of jam. We make it to the other side and Sir Hans pulls an arrow out of my wounded little body. We sneak through the forest, avoiding seemingly never-ending numbers of bad men with torches and metal heads. It went well, until one man caught us and made me scuffle and fall off of a mountain. I dream of legs, and using them to sit down and talk to my dead father like Black Panther but without the cats. I wake up to Sir Hans pawing at me like an annoying little kitten. He had stripped the clothes from the body of the man I fell off of the mountain with, and who clearly cushioned me like a big angry cuddle bear before his head cracked on the ground and the yolk ran out. Still, it was a big mountain. I must have some big muscles to survive that. Sir Hans carries me through the forest like a good friend, aiding me and shouting at me as I have visions of my dead family and a leprechaun called Mikey, who likes to wee on things. We burst into the home of what I can only presume to be a witch and bleed on her carpet. She was old. Look at her, she was so old. She helps me like a kind person would, before another angry man who liked verbalizing the sounds of his lower intestine but angrier barges in looking for murder. Sir Hans tackles him outside and then I have a nice little nap. When I wake up, my best friend was unconscious with a poor cosplay of a mummy, and I found myself relieved to know the old woman did not boil my limbs in a pot, bite me on the head and fill my bones with eels as I slept. Not that she could, of course. The eels owed me a great debt. Also, I fell off of a mountain and survived, so I was pretty tough. In truth, she was a sweet old lady and didn't really like having a corpse in her garden. Apparently, Sir Hans was able to win the fight but did not come out unscathed. I said I would bury the dead man even though my everything hurt because I'm polite and wanted to get away from that smell that old people have. I do not agree with giving men who tried to kill me respectful burials, but was comforted by the thought of worms doing nasty worm sex on him. Or maybe hollowing out his insides and turning it into a worm city where they sell things worms like apologies and stories about Batman. Anyway, I buried the man, hoping he wasn't quite dead. I go back to the woman and she tells me she needs flowers to make a potion that will make my friend not die. So I go and get the flowers. When I get back, I overhear two men painting her with the coarse brush of inquiry and step in to make them off. I wanted to do it without violence as I was still weak from falling off of a mountain. Instead, I had all the subtlety of a fart in a monk treehouse and told them absolutely everything. They then revealed to me their true identity. Bad people. They had weapons and all I had were my hands and a boo-boo body. But this was all I needed. I beat them into the underworld with my bare fists like a f***ing demon.
Shit!
The old witch lady was very thankful as her arms were weak and would probably lose a fight to a crisp. I gave her the flowers, but she told me her eyes were awful and that I should probably make the potion myself. I had never made a potion before, so why not? It wasn't that difficult. I just had to do stuff. And sometimes I was pretty good at that. I made the potion perfectly. Then she wanted me to bury the two new corpses in her garden. Jesus Christ. How much did she expect from me? She saved my life. She didn't buy me a toaster. I bury them, reluctantly. I did it for the city of the worms. The next day, I wake up to a woman with smooth skin and a gentler voice watching over me. I bloody knew that witch was stealing my youth and my vigor. How stupid thinks she I be? Well, as it turns out, this was the daughter of the elderly lady, and possibly not a witch. We all go outside and sit around the table for breakfast. All of us except my dog, who I just remembered existed. Where was he? I hoped he wasn't eaten by ravenous turtles. Sir Hans and I thank the old lady and her daughter once again for saving our lives and for their hospitality. We tell them we're big, strong knights with big, strong muscles on a very special quest to deliver a very special message that we no longer had because we took all of our clothes off and perverted on women. I steal their bread and we say our goodbyes. The quest had to continue regardless. I exclaim my need to find my lost dog, but Sir Hans says we'll have to do that afterwards because we have to deliver that very important message first. This upset me because I was aware of the passing of time, and by the time we found my dog, he could be dead or the Emperor of Sweden. We walk for a long time and bond by doing shadow puppets and piggybacks. We arrive at the castle triumphantly, and Sir Hans beckons a greeting, but is met by a bucket of poo soup with poo in it.
Shit!
I do say poo a lot nowadays, don't I? Poo. He was laughed at by a man wearing a cooking pot and another cosplaying as a robot Princess Leia, programmed to be more of a cunt. A genie appears and doesn't give us wishes. None of them believe we are who we say that we are, and damn it, we really need to deliver that message to that guy. We slide like slugs back down to the local village and sulk about our bad fortune and bad smells outside an inn. We were outside of the inn. Not in the inn, out of the inn, but still in the inn. We were at an inn. The owner asks us if we want any food, but we only possess tiny money, so are therefore unable to afford anything rich boy wants, and he doesn't understand talking down to people is a quick way to not get what you want, because he has all the empathy of a bag of dead toes.
What do you take me for, wench?
The owner huffs and walks away. I felt embarrassed. We discussed plans of how we could get close to and deliver our special message to Von Can't Touch Special Person until the owner comes back with more food than we could afford.
What is this stuff?
Hey, there's meat in that. and there's more than you gave me coin for.
She expected us to pay off the debt with some work, which makes sense. Between the two of us, it would take no time at all. But therein which lies the problem. My doofus best friend was a little snotty, spoiled belly button, and refused to lift a finger as he felt it was beneath him. I tell him it's not that big of a deal and it'll just be done quicker if he helped, but he got all like toddlers do when they blow snot and slap their fingers into the broccoli. He got pissy, so I got pissy back, and then there we both were with PP socks on and no progress. So I just start hauling heavy sacks off the wagon and into her sack garden, which sounds like a sex thing, but it wasn't, because I'm innocent in those ways and she's gross.
Say that, you numbskull.
Naturally, my boneheaded friend gets into an argument with a local because men are just different shades of stupid and a fight breaks out. I whomped many a man and barely got whomped back because I have the slippery skills of a greased up tangerine. The guards appear, and then before we knew it, we had our heads and arms stuck in those wooden elephants that don't look like wooden elephants, where people throw smelly fruit and spit at you. We argued a lot until I snapped and really painted his ears with the spicy feel of truth.
I'm not the one who acts like a spoiled child.
You're in danger of crossing the line, Henry. You couldn't even keep an eye on your own mutt.
The spoiled, ignorant little noble pervert shuts up for the rest of the day and night. In the morning, my knees hurt, but we get released and go our separate ways because we're not friends anymore, and I don't care. I can make friends with some other guy who likes to take his clothes off and look at women. Immediately, I was beckoned by some beggar woman. She was nice and said helpful words, so I told her to
Mind your own business.
because I just had an emotional breakup and my heart was ouchy.
Things can only get better.
It's a stupid thing to say, as everything can always get so much worse. A lizard man could crawl out of my mouth and slurp up my skin like spaghetti. The moon could grow arms and eyebrows and sass us through the sky. It could rain sharp water and make holes in us and take our wallets and memories. My eyes could just start screaming and never stop. I have so many more examples. Subscribe to Crusty and the Moon Wizard to hear the rest. The beggar told me about some tomcat who was good with a sword, but he probably hung out with an ogre and an annoying donkey, so I put a stop to our conversation right there. I put some clothes on, well, not all of the clothes because I'm about style and I have good legs. Some locals found it amusing, but I was in no mood for niceties.
Did you forget your clothes somewhere?
At your mother's place, when I was shagging her.
What?
I'll beat you like an animal. What?
I was on my own now, but I didn't have to be. Somewhere out there was my dog, scared and alone. It was now the most important thing in the world to find him.
Punch me in the face.
What?
Smack me in the gob.
On the road out of town, I was stopped by some delivery boy who lost his delivery and wanted me to punch him in the face to make it look like he was robbed. I didn't need to question this anymore and did a punch on him. Well, many punches. I had unresolved anger. I beat the poor boy worse than sports team beat sports team that time. A cow headbutted me, so I gave it what for. Usually walks help calm you down, but I was just getting angrier. And that cow was a dick. I ran past the house of the sweet old lady who saved my life a couple of days before. She called me over in desperate need of help, her old wrinkly lips trembling as she informed me her daughter had gone missing and she was terribly worried and asked for my help. After all she did for me, I still said I didn't have time for it. She expressed her concern that without her daughter she would be all alone and unable to look after herself, and she was right. I abruptly beat her about the face with the sharp side of my sword until she stopped living. It didn't take long. She was tremendously old. I robbed her of her clothes and money and dumped her frail little head next to the place where she does pooing. Then I went and picked some pretty flowers. If this series of events upsets you, just remember, I am not to be blamed. I am just an impulsive, wobbly man. You wouldn't shout at fire for burning up a penguin. As I continued the great search for Pup, I ran across a man rubbing up a dead body. He asked me to come closer with an evil twinkle.
Come here.
What do you want?
Just to wish you a good day.
Now you're going to get it.
I hesitated not and cut off his ear and engaged in a little scuffle, where I hit him as many times as it took for him to die. Just next to the scene was a dead deer. I wondered if my dog had made the kill, but he was nowhere to be seen. I then remarked how the herb woman may have seen something, but
I can't ask her any more questions.
because she was dead. Did I also kill my only chance of finding my beloved canine companion? Was this what the kids call karma? There were no other clues to follow anywhere unless he had turned into a tree or the essence of water. I walked to the nearest people paddock and asked a man if he had seen any dogs running around. He told me about a shepherd further ahead who saw a pack of wolves and wild dogs attack his sheep, which he considered odd. I cautiously stepped through the forest, excruciatingly aware that I may have eyes stalking me, claws hunting me, and teeth wanting to taste me. I could be attacked by an army of vicious wolves at any moment, and then I wasn't. I arrived in another village where I immediately ran into the innkeeper who wanted me to paint a bull because the owner's
Pissed in my beer barrel.
which is fair enough, I suppose. First though, he suggested I knock the beast out with sleeping potions and that the local blacksmith may be able to assist me in acquiring some. I asked the blacksmith for help with this sleeping potion and he rather arrogantly told me it was an old blacksmith's secret. I asked him if he would tell me because my dad was a blacksmith and he told me things, to which he responded by saying I could not have paid much attention, otherwise I would know the secret by now, but my dad was dead. The blacksmith says he's looking for help around the forge, so I figured I could make him my friend and he would give me the sleeping potion knowledge. And yes, I did forget about finding my dog, because have you ever painted rude things on a sleeping bull? It sounded fun and I wanted to do it. I helped the blacksmith by banging on his sword until he loved me. He smiled and offered me a bed and shelter. To thank him, I sneaked into his room and stole his straw hat, because I look great in hats and I wanted it. To my shock, when I went outside, the hat was immediately recognized as not my own.
You must have stolen them from our house.
It looks like you're wearing my clothes. Wait! You are wearing my clothes!
Instead of calmly explaining the situation, I panicked and ran away. Many people chased me into a field and started hitting me, so I started stabbing them, and then suddenly somebody was dead. A man without a shirt beat me up and made me sleep. I woke up on a stage with a jeering audience. In the locals' eyes, I had been a naughty little shitboy and was shipped off to be punished. I was branded, hot, steamy and painful branded. Now everybody would know I was a criminal, but to me it seemed like a harsh punishment for just borrowing a hat made of straw. Also doing murder. For most, this would be a wake-up call to be more careful and to treat folk more nice and good. But I'm a vengeful little sausage, and I wasted no time searching the village for the bastard man with no shirt. I found him eventually. I watched him with eyes, I stalked him with feet, and I longed to taste his pain with my hands. I was uncharacteristically patient, waiting for the right time where he would lead me to his home, rest his head down on a pillow in misplaced comfort and safety, and I would stab him in his sleepy eyes. Instead, he started walking into the fields and away from civilization, which was an odd call when he could feel my breath on the back of his front. I poked him for the so many holes I could hear his blood get scared, and then he died. Turns out he was the town guard. Now the town had no town guards, and I wasn't done. I crept into the blacksmith's house as he slept peacefully next to his wife, and smothered her in their bed. The inconsiderate woman made enough noise to wake him up, but he sprinted out of their marital home and into the dark of the wilderness, like a real man. I went back inside and poked her with my sword. The metal one. I left her blood-soaked body on the bed because he might miss her or get hungry in the night. I did not like this town. It had a bad taste. So naturally, the right thing to do would be to creep around like a naughty murder gremlin and claim as many souls as my violent little fingers could harvest. Some felt nothing, others felt everything.
What are you poking around here for? For God's
They died, and they kept dying until I got bored of the smell of rotting skin and wanted to find my dog again. I left the town and pulled some guy off of his horse and poked him full of holes and stole his metal hat and his horse. And now I could go vroom, but in the way the horses do. I galloped swiftly towards the shepherd's cabin and watched him sleep. I sneezed a sneeze and woke him up. He said he didn't know of my dog, but did know a pack of wolves that kept eating his sheep when he took them up the hill. And I was just like, stop taking them up the hill, are you stupid? He said he would give me money to kill all of the wolves, and I said okay because I like money. I convinced him to give me a sheep to use for bait and took it up the hill and waited in a bush. The wolves appeared, but there was no sign of any dogs accompanying them, so I did a fight and whomped on them, but didn't kill all of them as most ran away in fear of my big muscles. Also, that sheep died, but who cares because that sheep was racist. I lie and tell the shepherd all the wolves are dead and he gives me money. He then mentions a hunter nearby who may have seen my dog. I thank him for the information, kill him, take his money, and run outside to jump in some poo. I continue my walk through the woods to the eerie backdrop of uncertainty and unsettling howling. Thankfully, I make it safely to the hunter's cabin and into yet another roadblock. I speak to his wife, who is worried sick as her hunter husband has been missing in the woods for days, and she was concerned he had been abducted by the scorpion people or something. So I said I would find him because I really want my dog. I asked the hunter's baby-faced son if he might know where I can start.
What do you want here, you scoundrel?
But he was very rude and said he hates his father because he was a useless drunk man. I disagree. Drunk men have many uses, such as gluing all their limbs and faces together next to the ocean to form a human barrier against the elements. I spend a while aimlessly skipping about the woods looking for clues and running away from my bum toots until I clearly hear the voice of a man in great need of help. I sprint towards the sound and find a fully grown male human stuck up a tree, surrounded by snarling wolves. I whomp up the wolves until they're the opposite of alive and watch as he jumps out of the tree and breaks his stupid little bone.
Jesus! Mary, Joseph, and an ass!
He didn't want to entertain any conversation beyond getting him to safety, so I pick him up with my big muscles and follow his irritating directions.
Go around the bushes. Take me to the alehouse instead.
What?
Why are you putting me down on the anthill?
Don't you dare puke on me. No. Don't do it.
Left, right, left, north, not north, that way, the other way. He refused to make up his mind where he wanted to go, and on top of it all, he was one of those drunk people. If I wasn't looking for my dog, I would just leave him on the ground to be slowly picked at by frisky birds. He eventually settled on being taken back to his camp because he needed to get back to Pipek. This made me think perhaps he found my dog and gave him the name Pipek, but then that was not the case. We got back to his camp and I dropped his bum pillows into the mud. He said Pipek wasn't here and was likely stolen by nearby poachers, and that he was a horse or a dog that looked like a horse. Of course, he expected me to find Pipek, so I followed clues all the way up the path towards a camp of wicked poaching bad boys. I was woefully outnumbered, so I would have to play this smart. I waited in a bush until the sun f***ed off. Under the blanket of darkness, I crawled into their camp and made sure they all woke up in the afterlife. What would this afterlife be? I don't care, it's multiple choice. Though I do hope they get reincarnated into asthmatic whales that get stuck in canyons somehow and just sort of die again. I take the horse and the hunter back to his family home where 50% were happy to see him. They give me money and I finally got to ask about my dog. He told me to try looking somewhere which was f***ing miles away. By this point, I had not grown as a person, nor had I learned how to forgive people when they wrong me or say mean things. So I killed the hunter's dickhole of a son, then hit the drunken swine about the face and life. It was liberating. And I may have what some people call issues. The wife runs away screaming, but I'm cool with it because she'll come back. They always come back. She came back and I strangled her to death on the cabbages. She was really nice to me, but I guess we're all a bit of a completionist sometimes. I skipped off into the wilderness to find my dog. Finally. After a long bush rummage where my socks got squidgy and my eyes got heavy, I heard a familiar bark not too far away. It was him. My boy, my baby woofy boy, reunited and it feels so good. But he wasn't alone. From the dark of a cave I heard grumbles and growls, then slowly emerged the eyes of one mean-looking wolf. He had a big fat scar over his eye, so I knew he was some hot shit. I noticed other wolves moving in the bushes around me. I was being circled, targeted. It was so tense my bum was puckering up its bum pucker. My dog did a woof woof and that little bell in my head did a ding ding. Together we fought the wolves as they leapt towards us wanting a danger nibble. These wolves were foolish, as there is nothing stronger than a boy being reunited with his dog. Well, maybe tornadoes. We killed enough to make the rest scatter and run for the safety of the not here. I did it. I was properly reunited with my real best friend as we looked over our new kingdom, because I am king now, because that's how that works, I think. And no, I do not have a name for the dog. Why don't you give me some ideas? Ooh, I like this game very much. Do you want to see more? Better start leaving those likes, turning on those notifications, and spreading the loving word of the Moon Wizard. It's the only way we're going to grow. Moon Wizard bless us all, and I'll see you next time.